Good morning from Las Vegas in the South Point Hotel and Casino here at Mecum's Las Vegas Motorcycle Auction.
Yay.
I'm Matt Avery. You've tuned in to Mecum in the Morning, and I'm being joined by a former professional flat track racer, Johnny Lewis, and Lorette Nicole, and we have so much in store for today's show. Guys, the weekend is just getting started, and I'm already pumped to see what's going to be crossing the block today.
Yeah, and I'm so excited that you're so excited because this is a new experience for me being at the Mecum Motorcycle Auction, and it's been a blast. I have learned so much. I've seen so much history. I've seen so much emotional connection. So this has been incredible.
And I love just seeing Matt converting to a motorcycle guy. I mean, you should have seen him ride up on these things earlier.
Yeah,
two bikes sitting here. It's cool to see your excitement around it too. I could talk for days about motorcycles, and now you're getting better at this.
I might be riding off into the sunset on two wheels.
I hope so.
Maybe on the back seat of mine,
but yeah, we do have. Oh man, well, we do have two gorgeous motorcycles on our set today. I'm really excited about those, and of course, that's just a small part of what's going to be crossing the block today, because in store we have 64 pieces of road art. And if you haven't had a chance to go through that area here at the South Point Hotel and Casino, go through it. A lot of cool neon, vintage signs. A lot of it is motorcycle themed. It's the perfect addition to any garage or just cool space that you have. Getting to the two-wheeled action, we've got 436 motorcycles,
wow,
all great pieces that are going to be available for sale. And that contains 27 collections, but that's not even the total amount of collections. Lorette and Johnny, we have over 30 collections that have been brought here to the auction.
It just gets bigger and bigger.
It does. And Lorette, we're talking about passion, and yeah, I think I'm becoming a motorcycle enthusiast. I love how you have jumped in with both feet, not in terms of your passion for motorcycles, but just in terms of the auction experience. We're here, day one, and you already have emotional connection with the bike.
Yep.
And then day two, we were getting ready for the show, and you grabbed me, and you're like, Matt, I got to figure out how to become a bidder.
You're right. No, you're right. I mean, bless your sweet heart, right? Because I have done so many things where I've just leaned on you, and I'm like, Matt, you're the expert. Help me. Let's do this. And you're like, right. Here's what we're gonna do. This is the movement we make.
Well, I just love it because so it wasn't a pin. I know that you like those, but it wasn't a pin. But you did see a motorcycle here that you had, I think, even a more personal connection, and that's why you were like, hey Matt, I'm here to be part of the morning show. I'm here to do some TV content, but now I've got a bid. So tell me and Johnny a little bit about what was the motorcycle that was so special.
Okay, so you see this little blue beauty that's on the block here, and so that was a nice catch. I was telling Mr. Mecum that I bid on my first bike, and so this beauty right here, this is a Honda 100. It's a Honda SL 100. My mom taught me how to ride on that bike. It's not that exact bike. I know the bike still lives in the family and it's being protected. But this bike, for me, it just brought up that nostalgia. And my mom loaded up her Honda 100. That's a 1970. She took me out to a field in New Hampshire, put me on the bike and goes, sweetie, keep it in low gear. And I'm like, all right, Ma, I got it. Just twisting the throttle, feeling the independence, feeling the strength, feeling that moment. So as soon as I saw that rebuilt Honda, I really wanted it. And I sat next to our phone bidder, and he was amazing and sweet and tried to help me. But it was just a little bit well past my budget that I had set for myself.
But you definitely jumped in wholeheartedly, and I love that, Lorette, because
thanks.
Again, I mean, it was so. I just remember you were like, Matt, I got to figure out how do I become a bidder, and I bring that up, Lorette, and Johnny, because that's a question that we get a lot here at the auction. Of course, people, you don't have to be some kind of insider dealer or this isn't a trade event where you've got to have some kind of paperwork to be here. You can come out as a spectator. You can come out as a spectator.
Exactly.
Bring your friends.
You can, but just like Lorette, I got my bidders pass this year. Just because I seen stuff last year go through that, there's the scale. The scale is both ways, but then you see those motorcycles that they actually are going for really good prices, that are attractive. And I've been getting calls the last 2 nights now from buddies like that are watching on the online now, and they're like, hey, what's that the Sebastian Tortelli? It's a '06 factory
Yeah.
edition down his factory test bike that he had. What's that going for? And that VR 1000 Harley Davidson road race bike, what's that going for? And that's so I got my buddies looking at them like, hey, they're pretty high reserves on those things, so get your checkbooks ready on those. But there's a lot of stuff that meets everybody's needs here, and that's what I actually love.
Yeah, and Matt, to your point, so as a Mecum employee, I came in expecting to talk about bikes and to be able to create social media content, and then all of a sudden, here's this bike that my heart just swells to 10 times, and I grab you by the arm and I'm like, show me the way. And the process was really easy, and I got signed up immediately. I was able to talk to financing as well and organize that, so you can come here and not have any expectations, but then also right away with something that your heart desires.
Yep.
I will say, Laurette, it's a good thing that I wasn't on the block, because I probably would have been on that. I think, is it candy blue? Was that the factory color?
Yep.
It was gorgeous. And I know Johnny and Laurette, you may not know, I have a big passion for anything blue with wheels. I know Alyssa and Brian know that well. So I will say, when I saw that bike, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I know you have that personal story, but super easy when you come out and you join us here. Of course, you can again get your spectator tickets, but then if you do decide that you want to bid on something, you can also find out that information. While you're here, you can also check out the latest Mecum shop gear. We've got all kinds of great stuff. There's that tank shirt that Johnny was rocking yesterday. You can find that down there. We have the helmet, which we also have displayed on our set. All kinds of gifts. The jersey was new that launched at Kissimmee just a couple weeks ago, guys, and all kinds of new stuff to check out. So when you come out to the auction, make sure you check out the motorcycles and check out the shop, of course.
Yep, for sure.
All right, well, we've been talking about the scale and the size yesterday on the show, and that's a big thing, guys. And so I thought, what better way to introduce people to how big it is than to buy the numbers piece. Mecum's 35th annual Vintage and Antique Motorcycle Auction, it's more than just a motorcycle event. It's a celebration of design, history, and pure spectacle on two wheels. Because this week, it's all about the numbers. Here at the South Point Hotel and Casino, more than 2,000 motorcycles are crossing the block. From the earliest forms of transportation to the very latest of modern motorcycling. Cruisers and touring bikes, dirt and competition, customs, classics, scooters, even mini and youth bikes, they're all here. 32 private collections, each with its own story. Breaking it out by brand, the scale is staggering. There's 339 Harley Davidsons, 325 Hondas, 107 Yamahas, 99 Kawasaki's, plus some can't miss showstoppers. And some road art to add to your collection. And that's barely scratching the surface. There's something here for everyone. If you're into motorcycles, you've got to be here. 2,000 motorcycles, as I like to say, all under one roof. I think it's if you're into motorcycles, you really do have to be.
Oh, for sure. I think, again, I'm always shocked what is all here. The more I walked around yesterday, the more I saw even more motorcycles that I didn't see last year. And it comes and varies. Like, I mean, again, like, there were certain bikes I did see last year, and there was a whole range of those. And then this year, it's a whole different kind of genre of motorcycles. And I think that's what's special each year. I think it's going to continue to change, and it's why you have to be here every year to kind of fit that collection of motorcycles. I've been talking to guys in the elevators coming down before breakfast, after dinner, and hey, why do you pick certain bikes for your collection, and how do you know what you're going to get here? Obviously they're going line, but it's they have that hit list of what they want, and they're going to fight for it. And it's kind of cool to see that the racer vibes in these guys collecting motorcycles, because they probably raced at some point in their career, like had some motorcycle racing, and even if they're retired from racing, they have that racer's edge in them when that motorcycle goes across the auction block.
So, well, let's talk about surprises, Johnny. I know that you've been dialed in to a lot of the flat track motorcycles, but from your time here, what have you seen that just stopped you in the tracks?
I mean, honestly, I think it's actually, there was we talked about it a little bit off air, there's a 2006 KTM, like factory prepared motorcycle that Sebastian Tortelli that road. And just seeing, you think of a lot of classic motorcycles, but then again, back to that racing side of me, seeing that was a MXGP motorcycle that is over the United States. So it's somehow, some way, it made its way from Europe over to here. And to me, that's something that catches my eye. It's that story, but like, all right, how did this motorcycle that raced over in Europe, not, that long, 20 years ago, how did it end up over here? What is that story? How's that whole transfer of getting across the sea to be here at Mecum Motorcycle Auctions is something that I want to know more about. And I want to know when that thing goes across, I want to watch that thing go up.
Yeah. So Laurette, in
Yep.
addition to the pin, in
Yep.
addition to the little Honda, what else has stopped you in your tracks?
Well, to Johnny's point, the story that is near and dear to my heart is Bob Maiko from the Mega Collection. And he is such a passionate man who curated a collection, and he had some very special Maicos that I'm excited to talk more about.
My name is Bob Maiko, and this is the Mega Collection. From my last name is Megdal, so it's Mega Collection. The majority of my bikes are the late 60s and mid 70s and really 74, because 1974 was the first year I really got involved with riding motocross bikes. And now I'm 67 years old, and actually I am living back my youth today. I ride motocross, not with these bikes, with a new bike. These bikes that I have right here, I've never ridden. They're too nice. Some of these bikes are in as-is condition as they came off from the factory. Some were rebuilt, and some are just low hours. And some of these bikes I have because they look cool. It had really nothing to do about why I wanted it, because it just looked beautiful. To me, it was like Mona Lisa, but on two wheels. It took a lot of years to find them because a lot of these bikes are very rare. There was only 10 of those bikes built, and that was to honor Marty Smith. I have a lot of pride in these things, and I took care of them for 35 years. They're going to find these bikes at Mecum. The reason why I'm selling these bikes, it's time. I have Parkinson, and I want to be able to see them go when I still can. And I'd like to make sure that I can have someone else feel like I felt. Because honestly, these bikes was therapy for me. When I had a bad day, I used to go downstairs here and just look at the bikes. Made me smile.
Such a cool display, a great collection. But the thing that stood out most, Johnny and Laurette, was the space. I'm familiar with large car collections having that level, that caliber, but in your travels, is that common for those motorcycles to be displayed in that way?
Well, I think in some ways, yes, because you can put a motorcycle in a basement. I don't think everybody's basement looked like Bob's, but Bob's basement was pretty epic. I do see a lot of warehouses that house them, but you do see a couple of these motorcycles just sitting in living rooms. You can't do that with a car unless you have a really big house. But the cool thing is these collecting motorcycles are on display in spaces. Like a lot of race bikes are, even my race bikes have been bought and put in people's living rooms. And it's really amazing to see. And then Bob's basement is pretty epic.
Well, so full disclosure, Bob is a dear friend of mine and my husband's. And so we got to know Bob because he was a very, very close friend with Marty Smith, who tragically, he and his wife passed away. Bob wanted to ride. And so as Bob mentioned, he is battling against, and he's winning against Parkinson's, but he gets to go out to the racetrack and he gets to be stronger. He gets to be fearless. And he's done that with his collection, and he's curated something that means so, so much to him. And the Maicos were something that he's kind of created a Frankenstein bike. So Maicos, late 70s, very early 80s, were known as the top motocross bikes out there. And so what he ended up doing, he took a 79 frame, which was labeled as one of the best handling frames out there, in an 81 engine. So his intention was to race this, but as soon as he got the bike, he's like, oh shoot, this is too pretty. So it was on display. He was able to also share this collection with a lot of enthusiasts, and that really made him happy. Yeah.
Is the theme of his collection specifically dirt, or is there something other guiding direction for how he curates those bikes?
It is dirt, and it's specific to him. So you could hear the passion. You could hear how enthusiastic he was about talking about his bikes, and still is. That was for him the golden era of his motocross career. And it wasn't that he was competing professionally. It was that he was going out and riding, and he was finding the joy in the Arizona and San Diego area.
And I'd have to imagine, Johnny Lorette, that for a lot of motorcycle enthusiasts, dirt bikes are always going to hold a special place in your heart, because I'm guessing that's where you get started.
Yeah.
Because for a lot, obviously you're not. I know a lot of motorcycle enthusiasts start riding before they have their license.
Yep.
And dirt is a place where you can start to experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I can tell you every single motorcycle that I own from the age 5 to now. It's like it's a progression. The cool thing about dirt bikes is it is a progression. You're a young kid riding a 50cc. Then you're on a 60cc, then an 80cc, 100, 125, 250, and it's all certain ages. So you kind of progress that way. And that's what I think is really cool, is like I can remember, even with a lot of concussions from racing, I can still remember every single motorcycle that I had, and something special about it. Because I mean, I think if a 1995 PW50 went across, I don't think it's going to sell as much as the motorcycle you first rode on.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit bigger CC. It's more history behind it, but there's a lot of PW50s out there. But it's the cool thing is every single motorcycle, I can tell you which one I learned to shift on, use the clutch. That is what I think a lot of these guys connect with when they see these motorcycles, and obviously that was the same thing
For
with
sure.
Lorette.
Also, did you just call me old, by the way?
No, I was saying,
by saying that
you started
my
later
bike
in
that
your
I bid
career.
on was going to be.
You started later in your career.
You rascal. Listen, what was the first bike that you learned how to ride on?
PW50.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe on tomorrow's show we'll do rapid fire the bikes of Johnny Lewis.
Yeah.
We'll just go one after another.
Yeah.
The Maico story doesn't end there. Lorette was able to dive deeper into this history of this German dirt bike manufacturer.
You never know who you're going to run into at Mecum auctions, and Mecum Motorcycle just delivers every time. Steve Stackable is the 1975 Supercross champion, and he did it on a Maico 450. My goodness, Steve, it's such an honor to chat with you. Looking at this bike, what are some of the emotions that you're feeling right now?
Oh, it's dramatic. I mean, at the time, because all the Japanese factories were basically leading the industry, but we managed to come in with this German motorcycle and do real well. So it was a big success of my life.
What was it about the Maico that you loved so much?
Well, the Maico was really good for its handling characteristics and its suspension and its power, because it delivered really easy to use power and lots of it. And it was one of the most copied motorcycles in the world after that, because it worked so well. Yeah.
Tell us about the early days of Supercross.
Early days of Supercross were pretty exciting. Actually, we did some of the first double jumping where they'd put, jumps in series, and they didn't expect anybody to actually clear the second one. There was a lot of development at that time also, as far as bikes progressing.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And Greg Smith, he was one of the first that created an aftermarket part for Maico, and I wanted to get your opinion on the brand and the history.
Yeah, so the aftermarket part was Will Smith. When Maico segued to the dirt bikes in the late 60s, they were the best bike for motocross. Some of my largest customers, I was selling Maicos to Kawasaki, Yamaha, and Honda so they could copy.
What made these bikes so special?
They, the power application enhanced traction, and they steered. They turned when you asked them to. The other bikes did not.
Passion runs deep, and we were so lucky to run into this gentleman from Maico, the company, and he has two very special bikes behind us. Tell us about those.
Well, this bike here was in a crate in 2024. I resurrected the plastic and got that from Germany, and this is a no-hour bike. And behind me is an oval barrel Maico from 1967, and you could see that the technology from steel chrome wheels to aluminum wheels and steel fenders to plastic fenders, the change of motocross from a steel tank.
Evolution right here with these two Maico bikes. Dirt bike people are some of the most passionate, enthusiastic, lovely human beings. And this man right here, this is Gary from SoCal Maico. He is a iconic Maico builder. And I know that you started in 2009, but what is it about Maicos that just makes your heart beat a little bit faster?
You know, passion. The Maico enthusiasts as a whole and a group are more passionate about their bike than any other brand. I mean, you've got your zealots and stuff like that, but on whole, the Maico guys, there's passion left and right.
How much does it mean to you now to be rebuilding these?
I don't know anything different. These are incredible bikes. In the 70s and 80s, these were considered to be the Ferraris of motocross. If you didn't have a factory ride, you rode a Maico run up front, the Japanese factories would notice you and you'd get a contract and move with them. And then the next group of riders come up. They all came up on Maicos. In 81, Maico sold more 490 bikes than all the Japanese open class bikes combined.
Well, Gary, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Maico, come find yours here at Mecum Motorcycles.
The Ferrari of
Ooh,
motocross.
I knew you'd like that. Yeah, of course it did. But that was how prestigious these Maicos were in late 70s, early 80s. The handling was incredible. And as Gary had mentioned, you started your race career on a Maico. I thought that it would have continued to propel you, but a lot of riders graduated from Maicos and then went to the Japanese manufacturers like Honda. You can't really do better than a Honda, but Maico did their absolute best. Yeah, just a really incredible bike. So in 79, the frame, the engines were incredible. 81, it's some of the best. In 82, unfortunately, they made a poor decision and went from dual shock to single shock, and it was an absolute disaster. In 82, they went from a raising rate link. That suspension system was terrible. The transmissions and the hubs were described as exploding. And then, unfortunately, due to family infighting and some money issues, the company was sold in 83 and changed names to M-Star, changed hands, and then unfortunately just was financially unviable.
It seems like that classic era is what
Yeah.
enthusiasts gravitate towards.
Yep.
Now, Johnny, with that motorcycle brand, having such success on the track, and your experience being in the dirt, and what are the qualities of a motorcycle or dirt bike that do make it successful in that kind of competition?
Well, I think just like Lorette said, when they made changes, it's hard for changes to happen. We talked about prototypes yesterday, and sometimes it translates into the next build. Sometimes they don't do the prototype changes, and they go back to what they feel comfortable with. And yeah, I think Maico was trying to be the next step ahead by being the first one to maybe try to go to that shock, change a different linkage system. And when you do that, sometimes you lose a year or two. And if they didn't have the funding that, the Japanese had, you can't give up a year or two when they're at that peak, at that performance. So that was a bummer. I grew up around a family and they had a Maico shop, and it was always the joke is like, oh, better get a Maico. Back in the day, that's what they said, in the 70s, and that was the motorcycle. So You know, it's cool to see that huge collection, you know, a little bit more history about it, because I grew up as a kid, like I said, when I was on a 60, the guy used to port my heads, and I'd get in there and clean them up, and I'd be in the shop and there's Maico parts everywhere. And I'm like, what is a Maico? You know, like I was, you know, 10 years old. I'm like, what is a Maico? And I learned about it, and, you know, the guy was really into vintage motorcycles, and, you know, he had one that I think was, I forget, it was the 490, maybe even bigger. You know, the piston looked like a coffee can, an old coffee can. The thing was so big. It was a single cylinder, and it's like, man, that is cool. But I think that's the tough thing about developing motorcycles. You see so many motorcycles here continuing to progress each year. You know, you go through and there's a 79, a 78, you know, like, or, you know, they keep going up, and you see all the differences, and it's like, man, did that work? And you hear the guys, there's so much knowledge here, and they're like, nope, that didn't work. Yep, that worked. And they know every detail. You find the guy with the biggest briefcase, I said yesterday, and you ask him questions, and it's an education here. So
Absolutely. And like you said, you better get a Maico. And if you want a Maico, we do have several crossing the block, I think today and tomorrow. Lots of great examples. And I know the auction's starting behind us, and Lorette and Johnny both have bidders passes. So we better wrap things up. Wherever you're watching from, drop us a comment, though. We do always check out to see where our viewers are tuning in from. And I'll shout out World of Tone. He caught yesterday's show. He said, Honda 1959, who needs helmets or protective gear? That story that you were telling, Johnny. Go and a big old smiley face. And he said he had a mid-69 CD 750 years ago. He enjoyed the show. So, World of Tone, thanks for watching. And, of course, thanks to you, our viewers, for tuning in to the official pre-auction live show. The auction's about to start. And, of course, Mecum in the Morning will return tomorrow. We'll see you then.